Good evening and welcome to Greater Somerville. I'm Kyan Anderson. Tonight's topic, urban ag in Somerville. It's become the new buzzword since the passage of the Urban Agricultural Ordinance in late 2012. And our guests tonight have worked very hard on the creation of these important regulations, a first of their kind in Massachusetts. They're here tonight to answer any questions that you may have, as well as to inform you of the newly launched Urban Agriculture Ambassadors Program. Whether you're a green thumb, a chicken coop enthusiast, or simply want to build a raised bed garden in your backyard this summer, I am certain that there'll be something for everyone on tonight's program. So please join me in welcoming, in their debut appearance here on Greater Somerville, Luisa Oliveira and Jessie Banhazl.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thanks.
I appreciate you coming in on such a blistery cold day. Normally Joe likes to have new guests do the weather report and turn around, but I think we're going to skip it because we're kind of short on time. So anyway, we want to get right into it. One of the things we are going to say is that callers, if you do want to call in tonight, please feel free to do so. 617-628-9876. Give us a couple minutes to just go over a few things, and then we'll get right to it, and I'll direct you if the phone rings. So we're going to go over a little bit of background just to find out where these ladies came from and why they're into urban agriculture. Luisa, we'll start with you. You're working for the city of Somerville.
That's right.
You're senior planner, landscape designer since July of 2011.
That's right.
And tell me a little bit about that. You like to focus on urban parks and public spaces, increasing the pleasure of city dwelling.
Yes. So my main work at the city of Somerville is on urban parks and the creation of urban parks and the renovation of urban parks. I'm a landscape architect. That's what my training is in. But since last year, I've also been working on the urban agriculture, the whole mayor's initiative, and then also on promoting it and passing the urban agriculture ordinance, which was a team of people working on.
You were on the municipal team, correct?
Yes.
And you worked at the city of Cambridge actually for a little bit of time. So you've kind of been Cambridge and you've jumped over to Somerville, which is great. We always like to see that. And you're also a two-time winner of American Society of Landscape Architects Merit Award, which is very exciting.
Yes.
And you're from, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Western Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I grew up in the 413, as we call it.
The 413, and now you're 02. No, I'm just kidding.
No, now I'm a 617.
That's okay. You're a 617.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be a 617. And now, Jessie, you are the CEO, co-founder of Green City Growers. It's a Boston urban gardening, farming, and education organization, and it started in 2008.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. We are Somerville-based. We're over across the street from Taza Chocolate.
Good place to be.
Yeah, over in the Junkyard neighborhood of Union Square. And we install and maintain vegetable farms for homeowners, as well as we do commercial installations and rooftop farming as well.
Okay. And you've had over 350 raised beds and worked with 100 different homeowners.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. You're kind of spreading out. I mean, for 2008, that's really not, you haven't been around too long, but long enough to you're starting to grow.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's been really popular since we got started. And we work with a lot of different kinds of entities. So we do homeowners, houses of worship, schools, elder care facilities. We do corporate wellness programs for businesses, farms for restaurants and supermarkets as well. So we have a wide range.
I hate to interrupt, but we must have a caller here. You want to press that? Just press that red button right there.
So,
hello, you're on Greater Somerville.
Hi, I'd like to know more about raising chickens in the backyard.
Okay, I tell you what, thank you very much for calling. We've just got a couple minutes here. We're going to go over a few things, and then raising chickens in the backyard will be our first topic, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Everybody wants to talk about urban agriculture. Sorry about that. I just want to get through a little bit of the bio, and then we'll get to the chickens, I promise you. So you basically assist people to learn and educate them about urban agriculture and doing things the right way.
Yeah, absolutely, and really focused on vegetable production at this point, though we are looking to be able to offer services to help people move into other types of urban agriculture like chickens and like bees also down the road.
Okay, so you've been helping out the city of Somerville and Luisa, you've been working with their hand in hand for the urban agricultural ordinance.
Yeah, and we are teamed up with the city of Somerville to do this urban agriculture ambassador program where we will be training Somerville residents to be able to have the skills to grow their own.
Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later in the show, but I wanted to also recognize, because I thought this was, I did a little research on the computer. And you were named top 40 under 40 business and civic leader from the Boston Business Journal of Business and Civic Leaders for 2012.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting. I was the only person in their 20s on the list.
Wow.
Which I thought was
Look at that. You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Kind of like me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, Swiss chard and hot peppers.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Favorite vegetables, hot pepper, cayenne. I had to mention that. Sorry, they're very cheesy. Okay, so getting back to the caller. I apologize, caller. We just needed to get over a few of those things. So chicken. Okay, so why don't we just talk quickly about the ordinance itself? Kind of why urban agriculture? What inspired it? I understand there was some rodent control issues that kind of, well, maybe Luisa can tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So the ordinance was really inspired by a number of things. One is that there's already a history of growing food in Somerville, and you can see that in some of our immigrant neighborhoods where Italian and Portuguese farmers are growing tomatoes and different vegetables, and also in this new foodie, local food culture that's happening in Somerville.
Yeah.
So part of it was inspired by that. Part of it was also a continuation of the Shape Up Somerville program, which has been nationally recognized, and a continued dedication to healthy living, eating well, living well. This is something the mayor has is a top priority for him. And he went out and visited some, as part of the Council of Mayors, I believe, some different gardens and different urban agriculture projects throughout the U.S. And when he came back, he was very excited about, let's push this forward and let's get that first urban agriculture ordinance in the Commonwealth and possibly even in New England, which I'm not really sure about. But
Yeah, well, the first in Massachusetts.
First in Massachusetts.
This is really exciting. I mean, we're kind of on the forefront here. But I think what viewers at home, just in terms of it's establishing formal rules for farming in the city, including the production for sale, and then keeping chickens and honeybees. And I want to talk about the chickens.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
So the ordinance is actually two sets of complementary rules. So there is an ordinance, a zoning ordinance that validates urban agriculture and urban agricultural practices, and then there is also a set of Board of Health rules. And it can be somewhat complicated, but we've tried to really break it down for people in a document called the ABCs of Urban Agriculture.
And all of this information will be on our website, so you can find it later in the show.
And basically, ABCs is agriculture, bees, and chickens. And that's kind of how we broke it down. So there's a number of different rules. Some of them, as you mentioned, had to do with problems that are encountered or perceptions about urban agriculture or about the problems that it can cause. Composters bring rodents, which is not true, but if people are not composting properly, that can cause extra problems when there are already rodents. So many of the rules were geared towards that. So for example, in terms of the rodents, if you have chickens, you can't keep the feed outside, but it has to be kept in your primary dwelling. If you compost, you should be composting in a rodent-proof composter. And we've really worked with many of the local businesses and activists and people interested in local food to kind of come up with these.
Okay.
And these are also some of the things that will be underlined in the Urban Ag Ambassador program.
Okay. And so as far as the chickens, getting to the initial caller,
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I want to say that there are 6 chickens per household, and you cannot have roosters.
Yes.
Because I think everybody who likes to sleep in, including myself, would probably be upset if there was a rooster next door. But no, that being said, 6 chickens, I guess what I want to understand is like the scalability of it, right? So how, 6 chickens could produce, what is that for a family? I mean, that's a lot. It seems like a lot of chickens.
So you can have up to 6 chickens per property, but you can also have less, and it really depends on the square footage of your backyard. And in the ordinance, there is an allotment of indoor and outdoor space that's required for each chicken. So it's up to 6 chickens.
Okay.
And you cannot have roosters because of the noise. And as the caller asked, there are some things that we're asking people to think about before they get them. So one of them, for example, is that chickens lay eggs for 3 to 5 years but can live up to 10 years. So we want people to think about that. What's going to happen when your chickens stop laying eggs, and is that a desirable, what are you going to do with that chicken afterwards? The animal control, Somerville Animal Control will not accept your surrendered chickens, so that's something that people need to think about beforehand. And there are some really great resources in the community in Somerville. We have a great business similar to Jessie's, and this is exactly the kind of businesses that we want to promote and encourage with the urban ag.
Is that
ordinance.
the chickeness of Somerville?
The chickeness,
Christy
yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Is it Smith? Smythe?
I think it's Smythe.
Yeah.
Smythe, Christy
Yeah.
Smythe, the Urban Chicken Keeping 101 courses.
Yes,
Yeah,
she
she has
teaches
offers
those
courses, which is
yeah.
wonderful.
Yes.
I've met her chickens too. They're
Oh.
great.
That's fabulous. I know, that's
Yeah.
very interesting because, I mean, that's the first thing. There's a chicken coop right on the bike path.
That's right.
Which my dog, Oreo, actually one morning, 6 a.m., decided to take off, got off leash, and was circling this little hand. And I apologize to the owners if they're watching this. He was so loud. It was like 6 o'clock, and I had to tackle him in the yard because he was going so crazy with the chickens. But there are a lot of kids and like parents. I think it's really good because it's making it's making the awareness there, you know, and I think that that's something for especially the show and the urban ambassadors that we're going to talk about in a second. That's really important. Now the bees, you can only have 2 beehives.
So the bees, you can have up to 2 beehives, and there are some rules in the ordinance that pertain to setbacks and creating structures so that your bees are flying out and away from the street. There are some rules about that. But again, there's also some tips on beekeeping, and what we really want people to do is to connect with other beekeepers.
Yeah.
There are a number of beekeeping classes. There are beekeeping classes about doing it without chemicals. So there's a huge beekeeping community. There's a tour de hives every year. I don't know if either of you have ever been on that. It's a
No.
bike
No.
ride, which is really, really fun, that leaves from the Community Growing Center. It's a great place to meet other beekeepers, and there are educational events at the Community Growing Center, often about bees
Really?
and beekeeping. And with both of these, you know, with the bees, you can sell your honey.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that the ordinance allows for. You can sell both your honey and your eggs.
You can sell your eggs.
You can sell them, yes.
So is it? I'm a little naive in the chicken category, but with one chicken,
Yes.
what can one, like, how to be or not profitable, but you know, how much does one chicken lay? In what, you know what I mean? What would be like if you were going to be wanting to sell, you would need 6 chickens or probably more?
Usually a chicken, I guess it depends greatly on the season and the health of the chicken and the age of the chicken, but
Okay.
you can expect to get an egg per day,
Oh.
maybe.
Maybe.
Not always. So
Okay.
if you had 6 chickens,
Around,
you could-
yeah.
Around. Okay, good to know. It looks like we have another caller.
Oh.
You want to just press that button right there? Yep, right there. It's perfect. Hi there. You're on Greater Somerville.
Hi, I have a question. I've been trying to grow some vegetables in my backyard, and I think there might be lead in my soil. Is there a way of finding out, or is there an easy way of testing for that?
That's a really good question. Okay, we'll answer the question. We're going to have to take you off the air, but thank you for calling.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll listen. Thanks. Bye.
That's actually a really good question. What does someone do if they have lead in their soil? Because that's actually probably a pretty common problem.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it pertains also to having birds as well. So maybe Luisa can talk a little bit about that, since she's kind of the...
Oh, you mean with chickens?
Yeah, with having chickens also. But Luisa can talk to that because that is Luisa's specialty, is...
Lead in soil.
Yeah.
I have done a lot of lead and soil work, but essentially in the ordinance, in order to sell your produce, you do have to have your soil tested. And
Now, annually? Just does
yes,
it always?
yes,
Okay.
because there's always a possibility of recontamination because of chips in weathering paint in New England. So in order to sell it, you do have to have your soil tested. If you're not selling it, it's for personal consumption, you do not. However, the city and definitely Green City Growers, anybody doing any kind of urban farming would absolutely recommend not only that you test your soil, because you can also find out the nutrients and a number of different things that will help you with your crops, but also that you build in a raised bed. And we have, in the ABCs of Urban Agriculture, there's an actual drawing of what that looks like. I think that's something that will be
Yeah,
covered.
we're going to be covering that with the Urban Ambassador program, is how to build a raised bed.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So where does one go for getting a lead test? Like, what do
great
you... Do they contact you, or who do they contact?
No, so you can get, we have
do
a
it yourself.
wonderful extension service through the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, which happens to be in the 413. But for $9, you can have your soil tested. They have a basic test that will test for lead, nutrients, and a number of other things that will be helpful. Now, because there can be more than lead in the soil, if you are growing in an urban environment, we do recommend bringing in fresh soil. One rule of thumb is the further away you are from structures, the more likely you'll have less contaminants in the soil. But it's also important, if you're always living on a residential site, for the most part, it's going to be lead. But if you're living in a site that was industrial or is industrial today, then there could be other contaminants, and we always recommend a raised bed. The other thing that Jessie mentioned is about chickens and lead. There was an article last year in the New York Times about chicken keepers and chickens eating lead and possibly passing that along to the eggs.
Oh.
So that's all important stuff to know. And,
that's important.
We try to address a lot of these topics in the blog. Somerville has an urban agriculture blog.
Okay,
On
and we'll get a
Tumblr.
link of that on our website. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Urban Agriculture Ambassador Program.
Sure.
Because this is timely, everyone. This is why we have them on the show, because this is something that is co-sponsored by the City of Somerville and Green City Growers.
Yes.
And it's it's basically a casting call for 15 of you lucky people out there, residents of Somerville only, that are going to get, they're going to be trained for free of charge growing techniques for your food in your backyard and the community.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've teamed with the City of Somerville to be able to offer this program for free to residents, which is really exciting.
Okay.
And we, Green City Growers, specialize in training and educating all sorts of different age groups about how to grow food. And so we wanted to take the skills that we know and be able to teach residents in the City of Somerville those skills in the hopes that they would then take those skills and go out and be able to train additional people in the community.
Pay it forward.
Yeah, pay it forward.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so
Really
unfortunately, we can only pick 15 people this
15
time.
people this year.
This year,
Next
though,
year, it could be...
it could be much more.
Could be
it could
30.
be at least double, if not 30.
We got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is actually pretty impressive. March 16th to April 6th on Saturdays, from 10 to 4.
Yes.
So you got to be able to commit people from 10 to 4 on Saturdays, and you then will train them all. I mean, this is actually wonderful because it connects them with their food, and that's what the essence of what you want to do. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be able to commit to the Saturdays and for those 4 weeks. And you also need to be able to commit to 30 hours of volunteer work. And that's what we're really expecting in exchange for all of this free training.
Okay.
Is that whoever, the graduates of the Ambassador Program are going out and participating. There's tons of really incredible organizations in Somerville that are nonprofits and could really use help.
A little extra help.
Yeah,
in
like the
hand.
Growing Center in Union Square. There's Groundwork Somerville. There is an elder care facility called the Ralph and Jenny Center that we helped install raised beds in last year, and they'd love for some help with growing food there. And so there's a lot of different places where people can take those skills and apply them.
So tell me where they can get this application.
Sure. Well, it is, you can actually just email urbanagambassadors@gmail.com.
Urban Ag
And you're going to get a response message with a link to a survey to apply. You can also find the information on Louisa's blog, which the URL, or what's the easiest way to get there?
SomervilleUrbanAg.tumblr.com.
Okay.
It's on Tumblr.
And we'll put it all on our website.
Yeah, so you can go either route. You
Okay.
can go directly to the source
Important,
or not.
February 15th.
Yes.
So it's very important for everybody to sign up before February 15th because there will be I hear that the buzz is out.
Yes.
So people are applying. I've sent it around to a few of my friends. Although I don't think I get preference.
Yeah.
I know I don't get preference, but that's okay. That's okay. So I hope they
Yeah.
all make it in though. So that's really exciting. I mean, I think this is the first year of this program.
Yeah, and we're going to really, because it's year one and because we can only pick 15 people, we're really going to prioritize people who are going to be committed to that volunteer work. And so that's kind of what we're looking for, people who have the time to be able to put it and pay it forward, like you said.
Yeah.
I think that, again, this is only 15 people. We'll definitely, considering the number of applications we've already gotten, we'll definitely expand it next year. So we really hope hope that this isn't the only year that.
Oh, I don't think so. I think Somerville is where. I mean, I am biased. We're all biased. We all love Somerville, but I think that I think that things like this, ideas like this, are starting here because of the people, and I think that that's really where it catches on, and I think people get excited about it. And I mean, I was excited to have you guys on the show because I knew that this was something that is really at the cutting edge, and I think that, I mean, I hope that there'll be chickens, as long as there are not roosters. But no, I really think that that's interesting. Now, I have a question about the raised bed, and this is a selfish question, but because it's my show, I can do this. I am curious about these raised beds because I have a very small plot of land. But that said, I love kale. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, okay, I'm sure my soil's bad, but, you know, are there, I mean, do you have a decent percentage of people that actually get, you know, good produce out of their beds? Because I mean, if I'm going to commit to that, I just get nervous that I would do all that and then I would get like one piece of kale, and that would be really depressing to me.
You know what? It's surprising how little space you need to have to be able to grow food.
So what would be like, say, for the people at home that maybe have a small little, like me, plot of land?
Yeah. So homeowner, you know, the one variable that's really going to affect your garden is light. And it's a big element with urban areas. But crops like kale grow really well on a little bit lower light.
Really?
And so if you know your light, and that's a huge part of knowing your site, is knowing how much light you get, you can kind of custom tailor it to crops that are going to grow well.
And now, is that something that your people would provide?
Yes.
Like if you came over and said, okay, Cayenne, forget about tomatoes. I mean, I've tried tomatoes so many times, and it stopped.
You probably don't have enough light.
I don't. Well, that's you have to come and assess it. But the thing of it is, there's this little piece of land that I've always like, I should do a raised bed. And I have, before this showcase, I was like, I should do this. But you come in and you assess a person's situation and say, okay, you know what, you might want to get this and this before you actually build it, because I mean, I obviously would love to do it, but if it weren't effective for me, I would think that you'd be able to say, listen, you know, maybe you need to get chickens.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And you know,
that's helpful.
Yeah, and we offer a huge range of involvement, and so we can just come and do a consultation of your site and make a recommendation. We can come in and actually install a raised bed for you. We can teach you how to care for your garden. We can work with your kids regularly in the garden and teach your kids. We do all sorts of, we have an entire spectrum of involvement.
So if, say, something doesn't, now look at, I'm such a pessimist, but like, say something, I do it, I plant it, it doesn't quite grow. Do you kind of provide the like CPR for my garden to see what's going on? Like maybe it's my. Well, no. I'm not that irresponsible. No, I can maintain plants, but I just, I want to make sure.
Sure. And I'll use this opportunity also to do a little bit of a plug for we Green City Growers have written a book.
That was at my. Go ahead.
Yeah.
They're stealing all my material.
Called The Urban Bounty: How to Grow Food Anywhere, and we will have it printed by the beginning of March, and so it'll be available this spring. And it's a great resource for people who want to do this themselves. And so we offer assistance for people who are looking for a little bit more hands-on help from a professional. But the book, I think, is going to be really wonderful for people who just want to do it themselves and are really do-it-yourselfers. And so we are so excited to be putting this book out.
Now, who made this book? Is you or just Green City Growers, or is it a combination of?
Our horticultural director, Allison Houghton, wrote the book. It's a accumulation of the experiences of the company over the last 5 years, and also the kind of background and personal experiences of all the staff. And so we have 20, 30 plus years of farming and urban agricultural experience combined between everybody at Green City Growers. And so it's everybody's personal experiences, and then it's kind of what we do and what we've found to work.
So now I have a question. So I threw this out on Facebook a couple days ago because I wanted to see. You didn't even see. We're friends, and you didn't even see the question. I thought you would comment, but anyway. So I got a couple people that responded. See, Todd Lombardo from TEDx Somerville responded, and I said, what do you want to ask? And he said one of the things you want to ask was, what are the impacts, both good and bad, that this could have on a community? And has that been thought about? And what do you typically get for like responses? Like, what do you think people? I mean, are people all in love with it, or?
I don't.
There has been some concerns. People mainly afraid that I don't want my neighbor to have chickens, or I don't want. I think growing in the city is dirty, or but most of that, frankly, is just not really knowing what kind of things you can grow. This past summer, for example, we had a small raised bed garden on the steps of City Hall. This was 16 square feet on either side of the entrance to City Hall, and I cannot tell you how many people stopped, recognized things, that they would come in to pay a parking ticket or their tax bill,
me, probably.
and oh look what they're growing there, and people were very excited. The staff, the employees were very excited about that, and a number of people who were like, ugh, get that away from me, really kind of started to say, wow, I can't believe this is growing, this is exciting, and we shared all of the crops with everybody in City Hall. So, you know, there is that. There's also this idea that there's a network of local food in Somerville, and that helps in a number of ways. One, because of the issues around food security. Secondly, the issues around local food and what that does to carbon footprint. But also in, you know, wouldn't it be great if we had this network and you were like, oh, that guy on whatever street, he has the best tomatoes and he has the best cucumbers. Or so the idea of more businesses like Jessie's, and Jessie's business model is really wonderful, and we're very excited about it because it's not proprietary. She's sharing this with everyone. You know, she really wants more and more, her company wants more and more people to learn and start doing this. So in terms of economic development, we would love to see Somerville businesses growing out of local food, whether it's I make my own, you know, I have my own honey and my honey is different, or you know, I have the best parsley, or there's that. But then there are also some very tangible environmental benefits. And, you know, if you read any of the books about farming and what farming is today in the U.S., you know, those are, I think I've seen a couple of presentations where you've talked a little bit about that, about how much food you can grow.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, you can grow, actually, I meant to mention that. I mean, you can grow a lot of food out of a really small space. Like a 4-foot by 8-foot garden bed, which is 32 square feet. You can grow 50 plus pounds of produce out of an area that's, you know, just about this big, if you just care for it correctly.
And also in terms of your own family budget, you know, say that can be a good amount of money that you're bringing back into your family because you're growing
not
food yourself.
Buying anything at the supermarket.
So here's a question, because we only got a couple minutes and then we're going to have to say goodnight here. But I want to know, so I understand with the chickens you have, there's a permit every year that you have to pay a fee, as well as with the bees. But as far as like this 50 and 25, 50 for the chickens,
it's
25?
$50 for the first year and then $25
after that.
Yes.
Okay. Now for the plant beds, if you're going to sell that produce, how do I know if I'm at the Union Square Farmers Market, which is going on, the Winchester Market Armory this Saturday? Don't forget. That is. How do I know if that? Is there a certificate, or is there something like an authentic? I mean, how do I know?
So that's a good question. We are requiring that sellers, in addition to following farm stand regulations and how often you can have a farm stand, how big it can be, how big your sign can be for your farm stand, that you post your soil results when you're with anything that you sell. And there's more information on that and the requirements of that in the ABCs of Urban Ag, which is on the website. And the other thing, just in terms of making this even more accessible and understandable, is we're in the process of making 2 videos, one about chickens and one about bees, that you will watch in order to get a permit. And the permitting is really so we know where these things are, but also in some ways so that your activity is validated. Yeah. Because if you are doing everything right and there is a complaint about it, you know, you're permitted use, and so that is a certain kind of protection for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's important to understand, that the ordinances aren't meant to be prohibitive, even though they are kind of imposing of new regulations on Somerville residents. They're meant to actually promote these and to give people back, you know, you're back, validation, and you're backed by the city, and it's meant to make you really think about it and get excited and to be able to be supported by the city.
Okay, my quick little wrap-up closing thought here, couple minutes or 1 minute. Most rewarding aspect of what you do? You can start, Luisa. Like, what is it that keeps you getting up every morning?
Well, my family, even though I grew up in Western Mass, is from a very small village in Portugal, and we've been farmers for generations. So it's very interesting, rewarding for me to see something that's been in my background for such a long time adapted to this place you wouldn't expect it, but it thrives, and to see how excited people are in Somerville in particular, and how innovative So that's very rewarding.
Wow. How about you?
I think I have two.
Okay, that's all right. We'll give her two.
I think number one would be just watching unused space be converted into productive, flourishing vegetable gardens, or a urban farm, or these people converting a lawn into a vegetable garden or a back alley or a parking space. I think that is something that's been really, really rewarding. And secondly is kind of owning a business in Somerville and having this wonderful staff. And I think the more we're supported by the community and the more people are participating in this in general, we're growing as a business. I'm getting to hire all these really wonderful, excited young people who are out there and really want to make a difference and want to kind of create a better food system for people.
And a better community.
Yeah, and a better community.
Wow, you're making me want to go plant my garden. And it's like freezing out. But anyway, I'd like to thank our guests tonight, Luisa Oliveira and Jessie Banhazl, for coming into Greater Somerville tonight and talking to us a little bit about the urban agriculture in Somerville, an exciting new concept that will be coming to a neighborhood near you thanks to these, largely in part to these ladies tonight and all their hard efforts. And so for those of you green thumbs out there wanting to give the Urban Ambassador role a try, please remember that the application deadline is February 15th, so you're going to need to get that in. All the required links will be on the Greater Somerville website, so feel free to check that out. That does it for us tonight. We'd like to thank you viewers at home for watching, and as always, stay safe and stay informed. Good night, everyone.
Bye.